So
Okay, Clayton.
for everyone in attendance, at the end of this month, around the 28th of August, we will be launching a new marketing campaign for the Tesla giveaway, a new game that everyone can participate in. And what you'll want to do, you want to make sure that you subscribe to the Instagram channel for the Root Brands. And by subscribing to their channel, which is free, it's going to allow you to participate in the Rooted Games in correlation with the Tesla giveaway.
What's the Root Games?
Oh, you will find out. It's a surprise. The crew has been working diligently to make some fun things on social media for everyone because we are quite social. But today we are going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, where we're supposed to spend a third of our life, but many people have been in a coma for much more than a third of their lives.
So we're gonna, Dori, do you want to read the medical?
Oh, can I read it?
Okay.
Okay, you can.
Dori usually reads.
Okay, Dori can read it.
Okay.
Okay, the information provided is for educational purposes and is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for medical advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare professional. You should not use this information for diagnosing a health or fitness problem or disease, and you should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. And anything in this presentation, I mean, all of the presentations are not to be used for sales and marketing purposes.
It's all for entertainment and education. Oh, look, it's me. We can skip through that.
Okay, I'll talk about Clay. So Clayton's the founder of Root. I'm going to talk about Clay and Dori. He's the founder of Root, and he has 25 years of experience. Many of you guys know. Oh, wait, yeah.
Patrick, I can't mute people.
I think Dori can. Huh?
I can mute.
Yes, she can.
Who is it?
Somebody mute Carmen or I'm going to kick her out.
Yeah, I muted her. There.
Okay, guys, make sure you put it on mute just so that the rest of the community can hear our talks. So I know everyone's extremely busy. The reason I know everyone's extremely busy is because
We are.
Root is growing very quickly. And I give credit for that to Clay. He started the company, Dori, you were over here with him. I was still working on a COVID mitigation emergency use authorization project, and then left another company and working on formulas. And through that, his experience really helped launch it. But I really think it's his tenacity to not quit and to not give up, and to be himself. You know, I say this all the time. Clayton has a unique ability to always be who he is and never try to be fake. And I respect that probably more than anything. One of the things I respect more in life, because so much of my life living in the South, I was told to say certain things and act a certain way. And my professional career was the same way. So it's refreshing at times to have someone that does that. I would never want to be running a company or working with anyone different than Clay because of that. And he's really focused a lot on people. One of the things I can say is, at the end of the day, even though Clayton and I disagree on many topics, we always agree on helping people, and it's sincere. I meet a lot of people in my life that act nice, but they're really not kind. And what I mean by that is, being raised in the South in the United States, we're always told to act a certain way, but that doesn't mean our hearts are good. And so one of the things I really do like about Clay is that deep down, he does care, he does want to help. And that's why I think he is able to generously give to a lot of organizations. And so I want to say this, not that I planned on it today, but one of the things we have in the past argued about is I am a big giver. I love to give things, but Clayton actually gives more. And in the last year, he's given more money than almost anyone I've ever been associated with. So not only is he helping in the Root community, but he's helping outside the Root community to really help people all over the world with their health and with issues like child trafficking and with issues like making sure we still have freedom of speech and freedom of choice. And so I'm very thankful for the ability that he has had to do that. And then I'm going to go on to the third slide, or fourth slide, which is Dori, and talk about her. So one of the things I love about Dr. Dori is that she has created so much inspiration throughout the world in the field of wellness, as well as items like heart-related issues, cardiovascular, cancer, brain injuries, trauma, stem cell. She's done a lot of stuff across the healthcare spectrum. And I think that's one of the reasons we really relate, but we also really relate to each other. And I think it makes it very relatable to the entire Root community that she is a mother, she's a grandmother, she's a wife. She's really striving to support women and people throughout the world, as well as health and wellness through her multiple degrees, as well as her career, which has really been molded and dedicated to others. So it's a privilege to be on the phone with both of them. I don't know if we've done this before. Did we do this one time before, the three of us?
No.
Ooh,
Hey, Dori, let's see if we can get along with them.
okay, we'll see. Hey, now it's your turn.
Nope. We know me.
Do I get to do this part?
No, Dori can do it.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll say it. Okay, I'll do it. Dr. Christina Rahm is a modern day pioneering woman with a very impressive CV filled with business and scientific acumen. And she has multiple doctorates, one in counseling psychology, the second in strategic science with postdoc work in Harvard and in nanobiotechnology from the bioengineering and nanotechnology graduate program. She's been an adjunct professor for Johns Hopkins in the areas of oncology, orthopedic surgery, and neurosurgery. She's worked with companies such as Janssen, Johnson & Johnson, Biogen, IDEC, UCB, Pfizer, Bristol Myers Squibb, and Alexion, just to name a few. She has multiple provisional patents, proprietary formulations, and trade secrets, and is a sought after, genius formulator. She has a very multifaceted life and career, but before everything else, the Christina that I know, first and foremost, is a mother, a daughter, a sister, a wife, a dear friend, she has a huge heart full of love and light that wants to help heal the world. And this is her mission in life that she is embarking to fulfill. But life for Christina, as we know, has not been easy, and she has lived a life that has not been free from failure and trauma. But she found that she took these adversities and she found a silver lining. And so this is, she has vowed to help others to find their path, to lead them through a healthy, happy, and productive life.
Thank you, Dori.
Oh, can I add a little bit?
No, we're finished. We have to talk about sleep.
Oh,
Dori did a great.
Well, let's put that to bed and let's move on to the good stuff.
So we're going to talk about sleep support, and some people may or may not know this. I have always had problems with sleep. I don't know about you, Dori, but a lot of women, once they have children and they go through a lot of different hormonal changes, have issues with sleep, and it runs in my family. It's always been an issue. I will tell you that since I started taking the Mitochondria defense shield, I am able to sleep. I'm even tired. And I think I was telling Clay, I can tell I'm more relaxed during a lot of the day after I take it. And we're going to talk about why that's impacting our sleep patterns today.
Oh, and we'll probably hit on a couple more things that pertain to sleep, because while mitochondrial defense is very beneficial, the primary pathways to getting to sleep are addressed by the rest of the Trinity.
Yes,
so
correct.
We'll probably get into that a little bit too.
That's fine. We can talk about it.
Well, hold on. Are we saying that a lack of sleep, but also poor sleep? And is there a difference between lack of sleep and getting poor sleep?
Yes, because some people can sleep, but their REM, the REM, is not good. So you have to hit certain different wavelengths actually to show how you're sleeping, which is why there's all kinds of sleep clinics and everything. And there is a direct correlation to aging and poor sleep, as well as lack of sleep and poor sleep.
And there's a direct correlation between lack of sleep and environmental toxicity in the pineal gland, which we've discussed heavily in the past, which you can find on the YouTube and soon to be Rumble channel. But the television commercials and radio commercials that we often see, at least in the United States, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but probably 1/3 of the advertisements that you see or you hear pertain to sleep. It could be pillows, it could be mattresses, it could be sleep aids, whether pharmaceutical or melatonin supplements or valerian root and such. And really, you don't need a lot of that stuff, right? Because if you regulate things properly, You can sleep on the floor.
Yeah, but yes, like there's children in third world countries that sleep on the floor, and it's not a big deal. I grew up camping. We slept on the floor and I could sleep. The problem is if you can't sleep, if you're not able to stay asleep and you're not really rested, it impacts everything from having cataracts in the eyes to children that can't concentrate or succeed in school. It also impacts health gain. So the slide before, which we don't need to go back, but talks about that, how all these different things you wouldn't think are associated with sleep, but they are associated with sleep diseases. And I want to point out one thing. This particular article talked about mice without a gene of the sleep-wake cycle. So they weren't sleeping appropriately, were present with all these diseases. And one of them that I think is extremely important is organ shrinkage, because that affects everything, as well as thrombosis and anemia. And it really shortened their lifespan. And so not only does sleep cause weight gain, not only does sleep cause your lack of sleep, inability to think, it can cause you to live a shorter life.
So what research shows that 2 nights of poor sleep lead to a decrease in brain function and memory and recall. So it happens really quickly. So even 1 or 2 nights that are off are terrible for you. So you've got to get rest. So we look at mitochondrial function, and the mitochondria of the cell is the powerhouse of the cell, right?
Yeah.
Every cell has mitochondria, and every mitochondria needs to generate more power, and it is NAD that is that power source, or the fuel.
One of them, yes.
To fuel the mitochondria. So how does that benefit sleep pathways?
Well, so there's lots of different there's lots of disagreements on mitochondria. I want to say that, like, one of the reasons we have to take off mitochondria defense shield in Europe is because even though there's a vast majority of researchers now that have presented and produced research on the mitochondria and how important it is to the body and the different metabolic pathways associated with it, it's not something that's been 100% agreed upon, if that makes sense. It's kind of like when they first announced the black hole, right? And they found the black hole. You still had scientists for years that wouldn't accept string theory or black hole or time travel. And you still, to this day, because it wasn't something we've had around for 100, 200 years, there's a lot of people that we just have not spent a lot of time as a scientific society or group talking about the mitochondria. And the truth is, there's numerous models which show that if the mitochondria is not functioning appropriately, if those pathways are not working, then those patterns present so many issues within the body that you aren't able to sleep effectively or even stay awake effectively. So a lot of people, when they think energy, they think being awake. But the truth is, the energy source in the body and the mitochondria also impacts the sleep pattern. So it's not just being awake and functioning cognitively. It's also being asleep and how you're working at being asleep, if that makes sense. Like, sleep is so important to your daily routine that it's equally important to how you are when you're awake. And it's really important that people understand that as it pertains to the mitochondria.
Because your body arguably does as much or more work while you're sleeping than it does while you're awake.
Yes, because when you sleep, you're regenerating, you're repairing, you're really helping the body get to where it needs to be and to heal. Of course, we do that all day inside our body, and we can impact our body. But when you sleep, it's even more important that the body's doing this.
Oh, so when we look at ingredients, mitochondrial support has ascorbic acid, also known, as the Europeans would say, vitamin C.
Yeah, we just had a doctor in our office this morning that is on television a lot, and he's working with us now, and we're working at integrating him into the root model. And we were talking about vitamin C. He worked with the Special Forces in the United States. You guys will meet him very soon, and worked with some of our presidents and worked with people all over the world, and has a clinic now where he's doing a lot of different things that are concierge services. And we talked about vitamin C and how in all these countries, they're saying that you don't need as much vitamin C, but the reality is there's all kinds of research out there that shows vitamin C is very important. So I use vitamin C for a variety of factors. And many of you guys that have worked with Root for a long time know I don't just use it as a vitamin that goes into the body and really helps with blood pressure or helps, fight disease or helps with cognitive functioning. All those things are important. So when I choose different ingredients, it's really important that I look at the profile of what ingredient I'm choosing and then how I'm making it. But really, this was chosen also as a catalyst because vitamin C is also something that helps things be more bioavailable, more efficacious, and can even contribute to safety. So that was another reason that was used in this particular format. But I can't say enough about vitamin C. Dori, we talked when we were working on natural barrier support and Europe and like the different amounts Europe can take or Norway can take of different vitamins, which are different from the United States. But now, like I said, I will tell you, they've all lowered the amount. And if you said why, there's a variety of reasons that they're stating why, but it still does not dispute the fact that there's tons of research that shows that even there's been success with vitamin C with certain types of cancer. We can't claim that, but there's tons of research out there that show in IV formulations or in other formulations where they're given at higher doses, it really helps. That includes sleep. So again, I want to go back. When people have heart problems, when people have cancer, when people have autoimmune disorders, there's a lot of sleep disturbances that go on with that. I know when I had Lyme disease and it was active and I was dealing with it, or when I had different types of cancer, I couldn't sleep. And if you look at the second bullet, it says it is shown to minimize restless leg syndrome. Another thing, and some of you guys may identify with this, another thing that's happened to me in my lifetime since I suffered from different illnesses is I do get this restless leg syndrome. Have you ever had it, Dori?
Is that why you kick me at night?
No, I kick you because you're bothering me. Have you ever had the sleep disturbance or the sleepless leg?
No, the only time I had a sleep disturbance is after our call last time we talked, and I did the 0 in before I went to bed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Dori.
I didn't sleep all night, and I was.
That's because your brain, you don't shut your brain off either.
No,
you know what? But one thing that vitamin C, there was a study that I read that showed that vitamin C is actually responsible for inducing restorative sleep and characterized by rapid eye movement. And there's another study that was done in 2020 that shows that a lack of vitamin C in the system can lead to non-restorative sleep. So vitamin C is super important.
So something to be said for both of you on this, where Dr. Rahm is mentioning that they're decreasing the RDA, right? Mm-hmm. So while
you may want to explain what that is.
While the government might be saying your recommended daily allowance is RDA. Decreasing, your optimal amounts to achieve greatness
exactly, that's what I was
might be much higher.
Yeah. So you got your recommended daily allowance, and then you've got your other optimal dosing that people talk about.
Core health, governmentally, greatness.
We can't tell people what to do, obviously, and we don't tell doctors either what to tell their patients, but we have a lot of doctors we're working with that see things the way we see things, and they're advising their patients on the same format. So the next thing we're talking about is magnesium.
So if you want to spark things up a little bit, you take a little magnesium.
And you want to get sleepy. Oh. I don't know if I was talking about sparking, but I think that if you have magnesium, it does help you really feel like you want to go to sleep.
So there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk around the nutritional supplement space around magnesium, and there's companies that are promoting 5 different versions of magnesium supplements and such, and just selling straight magnesium alone as this great sleep aid. But it's one thing to have one ingredient, it's another thing to have it catalyzed with its additional components. So talk about magnesium and why magnesium is important to combine with some of these others.
Well, it binds to the GABA receptors, and that's really the summary of it. And GABA is a neurotransmitter responsible for really quieting down the nerve activity. So it's really important. And it can help your system really relax if you're able to have the right type of magnesium.
Is that gamma aminobutyric acid? Oh,
So I don't know why that was.
it's just a great word. Look at it. It's,
I can't say big words like that.
I know, that's why I did it. It's multi-syllables and there's a hyphen in it. You have to get excited over these things.
Yeah, I am excited about GABA. I've always been very interested and always studied GABA. We even talk about GABA when we make human monoclonal antibodies in the pharmaceutical space, because it's something that's really important too when you're looking at binding properties and receptors. And so GABA is one of the neurotransmitters that's very responsible for your ability to not just sleep, but with anxiety, and for you to have peace. So any of you guys that have issues in those areas, just know that magnesium is in this particular formula, and that magnesium is something that helps with different levels in the body that are needed. And this particular article talks about at the bottom that in one study, adults were given 500 milligrams of magnesium instead of placebo. But they also, if you look at it, they also exhibited higher levels of melatonin and renin. And that's why Clayton always says we don't need a product that's melatonin to sleep, because actually the ingredients that are in some of these products, like Mitochondria Defense Shield, they do help you rest or be at peace or sleep. So people ask a lot, should we take this in the morning or at night? I take one in the morning and I take one at night, or I'll just take one in the morning or one at night, because I take 1 to 2 a day. But if you take one, it doesn't mean you're going to go to sleep during the day. It means you're going to be more relaxed and you're going to feel more peace. That's the goal of this product, to really help with that. But it's also going to assist you with being able to focus, which is why the first couple of slides we talked about cognitive functioning.
So hold on, it's going to increase your NAD levels, which helps make you younger and help your whole system function better. Plus you're going to get relaxed. Plus you're going to sleep better.
It's going to assist the body so that it can help the body do that, because you have to have these things in the body so the body works like a well-oiled machine, or like an amazing car, or like a house. You have to help everything inside of your body work more effectively.
Or like we were designed to.
That's right.
And also magnesium works as an antioxidant for the mitochondria.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dori. It's amazing how the formula works together to help in all these different areas. But I do want to say, I know we just left magnesium and we're finished with that, but that is something people don't catch a lot, that they need magnesium. And so when you talk about this little thing that we don't say a lot about, this mineral, it's very needed for the body. So anyway.
And important in combination with its siblings.
Yes. And then we're going to talk about vitamin D and sleep regulation. So
hold on. Does vitamin D play a part with, oh, bless you.
Sorry. What is vitamin D?
So vitamin D plays a part with the circadian rhythm.
Yes.
You need sunlight, you need sun exposure to produce vitamin D, but you can also use vitamin D3 sources. And Dori has actually done a phenomenal job with our previous conversation on the YouTube and soon to be Rumble channel of discussing vitamin D, and not just the supplementation of vitamin D, but the actual vitamin D conversion pathways, which are so crucial to detoxify and clean up and support. So whether it's the sun exposure that you're getting, which we need, you don't need sun lotion because that blocks your exposure to the sun and vitamin D production. But in addition,
well, I don't know if I 100% agree with that, but okay.
I do.
Okay.
So it allows for the proper conversion of sun exposed vitamin D or supplemented vitamin D3 into D2.
It does, but there's certain times of the day where the sun exposure is not healthy for your skin. And speaking from someone that has skin cancer, there's things like carrot oil and different types like we have in our spray.
Oh,
that will help people with the harmful rays that you can get from the sun.
Wait, what did you just drop that you made the tea mist? It has carrot oil in it, which is
it has different ingredients that help protect the skin. Because one of my concerns is, I agree, you need the sun, but you also need to protect your skin.
So you're protecting it from overexposure naturally?
Yes, that's the goal, because a lot of your sunscreens have things in it that are harmful to the skin and the body.
So of course you would do it better than everyone else has ever done before.
I don't know if that's true, but I definitely wanted to make something that would help. And by the way, everyone always asks about the patents that have been submitted, the patent pending technology. We do have one on circadian rhythm that I submitted about a year and a half ago that has a lot of this formula in the patent pending technology. And for those of you who keep asking when you will see that, if you Google and went to the patent office, you would see me as an inventor of a patent with 168 claims. The other ones you guys will see later on in the years, they push those out, whether they're approved or not, you'll still be able to see them, but they were submitted in 2019 and 2020 and 2021. So we do have something around the circadian rhythm because this is a formula that I'd worked on a long time ago.
So it's summertime here in Nashville.
Yep.
So which one do you like more? Cicadas or circadian rhythm?
You know, I love cicadas.
They're great.
Do you guys have cicadas over there, Dori?
No,
You know
I
what they are?
know what they are.
They're manna.
They're manna, basically. They're these big circadias. They're kind of like locusts, but they're not. It looks like they're really pretty actually, but they make these loud noises. So like when you live in Nashville, Tennessee, we used to ride bikes, you can hear this noise and they're really pretty green and they fly around, but they're kind of scary to touch. Like I grabbed one because in certain religions, the circadias are considered sacred. So they're considered like in the Jewish religion and some of the other religions, circadia were manna that show you 7 years of good luck. So I grew up where if you can catch a circadia,
A cicada.
cicada, sorry, and you have it, then you get 7 years of wealth. So
You get one?
And
you
there's
get 7. I'll have to send you one, Dori. So you get
I
7.
gotta look at it.
but there's a little secret
That's
with
how
cicadas.
on the farm I grew up on, that's what they told us, so we would catch them because we thought it was 7 years of good luck. I'm
So
getting off topic.
They're
I'm
on
sorry.
7-year cycles. This is our biology component.
I
They're on
just
7-year cycles. So
took us
they're in the
completely off
ground and then they come out once every 7 years. But what they fail to tell you here in Tennessee, so you'd think once every 7 years the cicadas would come out.
Can you spell it for me?
But what they fail to tell you is that there are different pockets of where these cicadas are, and they're all on a different cycle. So
How do I spell it?
every year we get amazing sounding, very large crickets that when sauteed properly are quite crunchy.
We don't eat them, just so you know. We
If
don't
we had
eat.
butter and garlic, they are manna. Yes, Duquesne spelled them properly.
did
and
Duquesne
they're
do it?
cicadas. Of course he would.
I,
No, you're spelling circadian.
I spelled it wrong. Duquesne. Yeah, you
No,
don't
cicada.
eat them, but they're supposed to be good luck. So I always have one, and I keep it actually. This is a lot of information for this call. I keep it by my bed.
We do. We have them.
So they don't disintegrate, like they stay. They're really beautiful anyway. They die usually after a small amount of time. So they go under the ground, they die, and then if you're lucky, they come back the next year. And if they don't come back, then you pretty much know it's not going to be a good year.
We always have cicadas around us.
So going back to vitamin D, Dori, you said you have high vitamin D, right? Or did you say you have low vitamin D? I've always had low vitamin D.
Oh,
until-
no, mine is very good. I have excellent vitamin D levels.
Yeah, I do now, but I used to have, every time I would go to have blood work, they would say you have very low vitamin D, and it wouldn't matter if they gave it to me. But now that I've been on the products, my vitamin D blood work has been good. For some reason, I've always struggled with vitamin
You're
D.
just shining so brightly now.
Okay, well, so now we're going to talk about trace minerals. Here's another thing. People ask a lot about trace minerals and magnesium and why you need both. This is a question we get all the time,
Mhm.
Dori, on the science calls. Why do you need, or I get texts and WhatsApps, why do you need trace minerals and magnesium at the same time? So I will let the two of you guys discuss it.
Oh, Dori can go first because she's smarter and better looking than I am, and I'm going to drink some water.
That's for sure. Okay, Dori.
Well, selenium is important, as we know, because it's an
Yeah.
important nutrient for the brain.
Yeah.
It actually forms proteins that counteract the chemical reactions behind like dementia and strokes, for example.
Yeah.
It requires, your brain needs selenium, and it actually promotes neuron survival. In fact, doctors, after you have a stroke, they've actually examined brains and showed that there was a lot of selenium around that area. So it acts like a kind of like a paramedic for the brain when certain things like that happen. So, of course, there's solid scientific proof that lack of several trace minerals in the body can cause insomnia, which is our topic. And minerals that are chemical elements that we need in our body in very tiny amounts. So a lot of people, I think we should probably talk about that, because a lot of people think, more is better.
Yep.
And word trace, it's just very, you just need a little.
You just need a little, and we have it in different formulas that you guys are taking, because it's another way to make things more bioavailable and to preserve the formula. Because we went after 2-year shelf space, which is really hard to get with NAD. And so there's different things that were used in order to have that. And I want to say this, we've done talks on this formula and the autoimmune system, and how it helps with immunity, how it helps with cognitive functioning, how it helps assist the body. Again, we can't claim that, but the ingredients help do all of these things. So one of the questions I got this week, so I'm going to answer it here, is if trace minerals and if these different ingredients in the mitochondria defense shield help the body rest, how do they also give the body energy? And again, it goes back to your cells. Everything is communicating. You have a city inside this body. I'm going to say it again. It's talking, it's living, and it needs to function, and it has a give and take system, right? You need peace, you need energy, you need sleep, you need to live. It's all of this going on, and the body's helping you do it. So if you give the ingredients the body needs, it's able to do what it needs, which is this rhythm of not just being awake all the time, not just being asleep all the time, but being able to do both in the optimal way. And I think that's the key to this. We're trying to live optimal lives. We're not trying to be just well. We're trying to be the best that we can be. And trace minerals do help with different imbalances that help with sleep. So the reason you need trace minerals and magnesium is trace minerals have a lot more than just magnesium.
So what's the best source for trace minerals?
The sea, the water.
Why?
Because they're naturally there.
And because we come
I don't
from
know
the
which
water?
answer you want me to
Well,
give.
our blood is basically salt water, right?
Yes.
So if you use salt sources, you're getting the best forms of trace minerals, because it's what's most bioavailable to our system. It's what we recognize.
It's what we can use in the most effective way inside of our bodies. So a lot of people will try, and I've actually done some formulas where I made my own trace minerals, and I do alter the trace minerals I work on so that they're more effective in the formulas, and I use a certain process so they're more effective. But Clayton is right. As far as sourcing it, there's certain places that have the best trace minerals. And it's kind of like when you study different types of clino or different types of turmeric and roots, you just have to find the right source. And then you have to make it in a way that it'll be sustainable.
And one of the keys, and this is where the collaboration between products is so important, Clean Slate not only provides some of those trace minerals, with the drops you're taking, but is also removing the heavy metals that block the binding sites for the trace minerals, which is why they're also combined.
Yeah.
So removing the heavy metals, adding the trace minerals, and then adding the additional tools that are needed to help your body function. Because I think the important part to understand is sleep is an active process. It's not passive. You don't just shut down when you go to sleep. Your body needs the energy to do the work it needs to do while your brain is in sleep mode. It's not that everything shuts off and you don't need anything. You're active when you're awake, you're active when you're asleep. So you need the functional tools on both sides of the circadian rhythm.
That's right. And then you also need K2. So K2 is so important. And I keep saying this, I really want to hammer this home. It's like the vitamin no one knew about, right? And for a while, for years, we didn't talk about K2. People didn't even really understand what it did and how important it was. I was first introduced to K2 and really understanding when I worked in psychology. I worked at a methadone clinic at one point, and I worked also with seriously, persistently mentally ill. And we kept noticing there was this lack of D and D3 and D in people's bodies. And then there was this literature coming out about K2 and how you needed K2 to really help D or D3 work as effectively in the body. So why does that matter? Because with neurotransmitters, they don't work effectively as well in the communication between the brain and the heart and the stomach if you don't have K2. And it has to be the right K2. And this is one of the things I really want people to understand. There's a lot of different sources. There's a lot of different ways you can get it and make it. The particular formula that was used in this was used to stabilize it so that you could help stabilize the NAD and the quercetin. And I've also been asked, why didn't you put K2 in the natural barrier support? The reason I didn't do that is that was specifically made for people that had colds, viruses, and different types of things where they were trying to fight that particular instance. I could have added K2, we almost did, but we decided since this formula was going to be launched, we would launch it here. There's been so much on aging, you guys, and so much on sleep, and so much on cognitive functioning, depression, anxiety related to K2. So this is really one of those things that helps improve performance in lots of different areas. There's even a study, it's not on here right now, this is a different study, but there's a study that I've seen with people that have social anxiety, that have major problems going into social situations. When they gave them K2, it helped them significantly. And there's a lot of studies on anxiety and cognitive functioning and depression as well for K2.
Oh, I have a test subject for that at home, don't I?
We don't talk about the kids on these calls.
I wasn't talking about the kids. I was talking about the dogs.
Oh, the dogs.
Oh, they have social anxiety.
No, they don't.
Well, I know, but we couldn't talk about the kids.
Well, we don't have dogs or kids that have social anxiety, but I think that it is something that people suffer from, and it's something that we definitely need to pay attention to in the root community.
Oh, this is a fun one here.
It is. Do you want to talk about quercetin?
You can hit on quercetin. I'm going to provide.
I'm going to let Dori talk about it. I love quercetin, Dori. I was so excited to work with this because it's one of my favorite things to work with.
No, I think we should let Clayton talk about it because I think he wants to talk about it.
Nope. Quercetin is not one of my favorite subjects because I'm not as well versed in it. So I'm going to provide some extra insight after you guys go. This is one of your favorite components, right? Because it's been talked about in the last couple of years. You hear the term used, but most people don't know where it's sourced from. People hear resveratrol and they're like, okay, that's a good thing. But quercetin is really not that well understood. It's used as a buzzword, but the majority of people, I'll throw myself into the mix because I haven't researched quercetin extensively. So why is this little guy important? Why is it beneficial?
Well, one of the things that I've always loved quercetin is they've done a lot of pre-treatment like studies, not just one. I think we're showing one here, but many, which show that when they treat people with quercetin, that their behaviors change. And it suppresses the molecules which cause all these issues. It actually reverses it, which is really fascinating to me because of working so much in mental health. The fact that there's this protective product that really goes in and helps with anxiety and helps with antisocial behavior. There was even a study they did. I don't want to get into, I worked with sexually abused kids. I worked with pedophiles at one point. It was really hard. I worked with a lot of antisocial behavior and psychopathic behavior because I was working community mental health and I did intakes. And I always kept trying to find solutions for these people because of their brain mapping. When we would look at it, it was really hard to make changes, no matter how much medication we gave them, no matter how much cognitive therapy we gave them. But there were results in studies with mental health with quercetin, just like K2. Quercetin was really something that was looked at by the pharmaceutical companies. It's really hard to use with synthetics. It's hard to source because the thing is, when you source quercetin, it comes from different places that are not, it's hard to isolate it and to really make it into a formula. So it's like NAD. It's not the easiest thing to get and definitely not one of the easier things to work with. But because of how it helps with this anxiety and because of how it helps the body, it was really important to me. And I want to say this, I talked to you guys about it on the last call about DNA mutations. and about chromosomal issues that people have. You know, you talked about sickle cell. We're getting ready to go into a meeting with the sickle cell organization this afternoon. All of those are well, there's a genetic component, but there's also an epigenetic, or you have the trait, but it doesn't present. And so quercetin is known to be protective against some of those things. So there's so many more studies that are out there about quercetin. And right now we're focused on sleep. And yes, it does help with anxiety. It is known to help with sleep. It is also helps people stay asleep. So instead of waking up, you know, every 30 minutes to an hour, it really helps you stay asleep through the night. And I think that's why we're talking about it right now. But I do want you guys to know it has so many things that it's able to do. And when I look at all the things we've gone through over the last 2-3 years, this DNA protective mechanism, this chromosomal protective mechanism is so important to us. And so it goes way beyond sleep, but it is something that does help with sleep.
So we have the ability to regenerate. And in that process, when given the right environment, quercetin on its own, but also working as a catalyst with other compounds, aids in the regeneration process at a DNA and mitochondrial level.
Well, I'll give you an example. NAD, I think it's on this slide. NAD moves up and down during sleep, right? It's kind of cyclical because it fits into how we're trying to repair and protect. Quercetin, when added to that, can actually make NAD even stronger and work more effectively. It's like kind of giving NAD the strength it needs to really achieve what you want it to achieve. And it's so important to me about that, because with what's going on with all these viruses and everything that's happening with fungus and parasites, it's really important to have this NAD and the quercetin to help it, and the K2 to help it, and magnesium to really help our bodies. And of course, we all want to look like Regina at her age, but we also want to be our best self, right? Because we all can't have Regina's body or her beautiful eyes or her beautiful brain. I'm using her as an example because she uses these products to be the optimal person she can be, so she can achieve every day the most she can. And that's what most of the Root community does. But for those of you that really want to understand the importance of the mitochondria shield, defense shield, sleep is one of the components it brings. But during that sleep, if you guys remember, we talked about the importance of repair. We talked about the body regenerating. We talked about the longevity of people and how there is a genetic component, but if you give the body what it needs, you can help that genetic component be better. And what I mean by that is if the gene you have shows you're going to age quickly, you can help your body be something better than what the gene gave you. Did I explain that right? Dori, help me out here.
No,
Okay. And we'll get more into that in the next slide.
So NAD and quercetin are kind of like you and me, where I'm your quercetin and I try to make you stronger and allow you to do what you're made to do.
Okay, usually.
See, that was pretty good.
Usually.
I don't know a lot, but
hey,
I know her.
Hey, but Dori, I'm doing this because I was supposed to get off at 2:30 for a meeting. I'm leaving you two together, so get the red flag out, because if he upsets you, just throw it
snap.
up.
No, this is the best. This is going to be the best slide. Oh, I can't believe
You're going to do it.
Oh, Dori's left to it. I haven't seen it yet. All right. Let's go.
Well, one of the things that I think we need to talk about is citrulline, right? And why they're so critical for cellular health, because these two, NAD, work together, right? We have 7 of them. They work hand in hand with NAD. You can't have one without the other. So the citrulline.
Hold on, my glasses are foggy now because my wife left me and it got all humid in here.
Okay. So
But keep going.
One, cannot, they work in harmony together. They are directly linked together. So nearly every citrulline has been shown to play a role in regulation of metabolism and energy homeostasis. So as you age, NAD declines with age, just like your stem cells. I mean, they just like go down, right? But what the citrulines do is they help repair the DNA damage, which was what Dr. Rahm was hitting on in the last slide, where she's talking about the DNA, right? With the quercetin and the NAD and stuff like that. So, but it is the situins that actually help to repair DNA damage. And it is the main cause of cellular senescence, basically, which means that your cell basically stops dividing, and by controlling excuse me, numerous cell functions. So this is, it can affect your cellular health across a wide variety of organs and system. I mean, like almost every organ, and system here. I wish I could show you this paper here.
Well, it's just what, Dr. Rahm has been going over with, how NAD functions at a cellular level, at a mitochondrial level, which is really where all that energy starts. So, whether it's bacteria, whether it's fungus, whether it's liver cells, kidney cells, pancreatic cells, GI cells, muscle, they all have mitochondria, and they all have NAD. So those cells that have the higher levels of NAD are going to be more dominant in the system. So if
no, but what I'm saying is that if you don't have the right balance between the two, yes, it doesn't work right, right? And then that the situins also delayed the shortening of your telomeres, which is little DNA caps, right? The end of the chromosomes.
Well, I think this goes back to our previous, one of our previous chats that you can also find on the YouTube channel and soon to be Rumble, is understanding that when we talk about balance, people think about balance in the body like a teeter-totter, right? It's just one or the other. When it's not, it's more like that mobile. And I have to thank Dr. Rahm.
Oh, I know I think you're
for really, presenting that and getting people to understand that you have all of these unique components that are happening simultaneously in the body. And as one moves, everything else adjusts. So you really have to understand, much like my point was with magnesium, right? For people that are talking about, oh, just supplement with a large amount of magnesium before you go to bed and you're going to be amazing. No, that's not true, because you have to understand the balance that takes place with everything else that correlates and corresponds to magnesium metabolism. And, I think the beautiful part is having these beautiful scientific minds that understand that, and that are able to formulate and adjust and design accordingly. And that's the one thing that excites me the most on a daily basis, is knowing that we literally are at the forefront of all of these conversations because of what we have currently. And I think everybody that's here can get a little bit of an understanding that while you might look at a label and you can say, oh, there's these ingredients, but without having a bioscience engineering or biotech background, you might not, and most likely won't, understand why each ingredient or why a combination of ingredients is in place. The other side goes in, if the products that you are taking or the products that you are looking at taking aren't designed by someone with a bioscience engineering background, I wouldn't touch them, because there's a lack of knowledge that's there that's probably leaving some gaps. Because as Dori's touching on, you have to hit on every major component to make sure that the entire operating system is working effectively. What else do we got? Because
that's it.
What? That's it?
That's it. And we are on time. Look what time. Let me see.
I don't know what time
Perfect.
it is.
Perfect.